Trump has been pretty clear. He wants to do it. After the White House tried to reframe, minimize, and ultimately sanitize Trump's unconstitutional call for Republicans to nationalize elections, the president is doubling down tonight.
I want to see elections be honest, and if a state can't run an election, I think the people behind me should do something about it. Because, you know, if you think about it, a state is an agent for the federal government in elections. I don't know why the federal government doesn't do them anyway. The federal government should get involved. These are agents of the federal government to count the votes. If they can't count the votes legally and honestly, then somebody else should take over.
And now, after backlash against Trump sending Tulsi Gabbard to an FBI raid at an election center in Georgia, the White House not only defended it, but proclaimed that she is now in charge of election security.
Okay, so in this clip, we're going to watch actually Batya Ungar-Sargon, right? Yeah, Batya Ungar-Sargon go head-to-head with the whole panel. The whole news night was with Phillip panel on CNN, talking about election integrity and the things that are going on surrounding that. So there's a lot of questions. Apparently, there was an FBI raid on an election office in, what was it, Atlanta or Alabama? I'm sorry, I think it was Atlanta. And Tulsi Gabbard is apparently in charge of this. The reason why I'm saying apparently is there's so much news, the ticker tape. I'm trying to keep up with everything, the files that came out, going to war with Iran, everything. So this is one that I want to talk about because this means something to me. After 2020, I had, you know, PTSD. So anyway, on this panel, Batya, gosh, I can't say her name. Batya Ungar-Sargon and Phillip and the rest of the CNN panel are going to go back and forth and go at it about this particular issue. So without any further ado, let's go ahead and get into it.
Tulsi Gabbard has been tapped by the President of the United States to oversee the sanctity and the security of our American elections. She's working directly alongside the FBI Director, Kash Patel. This is a coordinated whole-of-government effort to ensure that our elections, again, are fair and transparent moving forward. I don't see anything wrong with the President tasking a cabinet member to pursue an issue that most people want to see solved.
Gabbard, the nation's top intelligence officer, remains at the center of a mysterious and classified whistleblower complaint. Let's start with Trump insisting that the elections need to be federalized. He even said in that bite that we played that federal agents need to take over the counting of elections. Stacey Schneider, when you hear that from the president, first of all, should we believe him? And secondly, I don't know, should someone also provide him with a copy of the Constitution, perhaps?
That's a perfect question. First of all, your first question, should we believe him? Yes. When have we ever seen him not float his idea, get everyone all agitated, continue to float the idea, and then eventually follow through on it? So he could try it. He can't accomplish it legally. The Constitution has an elections clause that mandates that the states govern the time, place, and manner of our national elections. So for Trump to do this or accomplish this, the only way he could try to do it is by executive order, but it would be an unconstitutional executive order. So we're going to have all this dialogue floating around for days and backtalk and coming back again. He legally can't do it. Will he try? Probably.
People try to take what Trump says, they put it through the washing machine, launder it, and it comes out as something else. But Trump keeps repeatedly insisting that he wants the federal government to run elections in states that he lost because he thinks that if he lost, it wasn't fair. He's also said he regrets not seizing voting machines in 2020, again, when he lost an election. Is this productive? And at what point should Republicans say something about these lies?
I don't think it's productive, especially because it's impossible, thank God, not constitutional, and, so not going to happen. I do think that the SAVE Act is a great idea. 83% of Americans support it, as I learned on CNN this morning, and that includes, 76% of Black Americans, 82% of Latinos, 85% of white Americans. So to me, that's the move. Push the SAVE Act and force Democrats to admit that they are against what 83% of Americans want. I think this is all kind of just a distraction, a bit of nonsense.
Can I say one thing? We're talking about distraction. Something that's not a distraction that doesn't get a lot of attention is that In Donald Trump's second term, every single one of his judicial nominees, there's been 38, every single one has said in sworn testimony, has not answered the question in sworn testimony whether Trump lost the 2020 election or what happened on January 6th. These are lifetime federal judgeships. These aren't spokespeople at the Department of Commerce. And it's really important as we talk about what's happening in Fulton County, as we talk about Gabbard, that we not lose sight of the fact that the President of the United States is reshaping the judiciary in ways that are deeply, deeply concerning. And frankly, this is going to be a problem for the country for decades to come.
Well, here's the thing about what he just said there. You know, corrupt judges are a real thing. And the reason why I'm saying that is not necessarily to his statement, but yeah, there is a reshaping of the country that is happening that underneath this administration, but it has nothing to do with Trump. They say that Trump's just doing it for Trump, but it's bigger than that, okay? All right. I want to come back to just a couple of things here. Not too much. I won't spend too much time explaining myself here. Batya, she says pass the SAVE Act. I need to look at the SAVE Act. I don't trust any act that comes out of the government. Sorry, I don't, because there's always something slipped in there to take away more rights. At this point, it's like I don't even know what rights we have left. I'm not complaining. I have a great life, but I'm just saying, okay? By the way, guys, if you like the clip, please don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button and a notification bell. Thank you to every eye that lands on these videos. Now, with that said, I also don't want the elections to be federalized. Let me tell you something. I was there in 2020. I can't tell you how many times, like, I screamed watching what was going on with, you know, certifications and everything. I live in Pennsylvania. And in Pennsylvania, we voted against our Constitution. I talk about this all the time so much. There's some of this stuff that I even forgot because I was all into it. Some of it I even forgot. When people talk about fake electors, there were no fake electors. I mean, it was crazy watching the fact that Pennsylvania, one of our judges stopped the certification of the election, and then another one superseded that one and said, no, certify it anyway. I mean, it was it was just bananas. And that's why I say I have PTSD, because no matter how disappointed I am with this administration today, you still can't get me to say that 2020 wasn't, you know, taken away from us, and just put it that way. That said, I still don't want the federal government federalizing, you know, like, you know, just making it all this unanimous thing where the federal government is counting votes and all of that. I mean, they can. I don't trust a lot of things. I just feel like once it's centralized like that, it's a lot more easier to rig. I'm just going to keep it real. Yeah, that's my thoughts on that.
Let me play. This is also Speaker Mike Johnson. And as you listen to this, just remember that Mike Johnson, before he was Speaker, back in 2020, was one of the lead proponents of trying to invalidate the results of the 2020 election. But here we are in 2026, and here is what he is saying.
Well, I want you to know that Abby would definitely say that about me. I just had to cut in and say that real quick. Like, people say that as if it's a bad thing. As if not believing in that 2020 election, suddenly you're this immoral person. I wish I could be on that panel and be like, well, Abby, I don't know why you describe Mike Johnson like that, because that actually gives him a lot more aura than he has today. You know what I'm saying? So I am, as an American, I'm all about asking questions. I think it's a great thing. So I don't see why that's a bad thing.
Today.
What you're hearing from the president is his frustration about the lack of some of the blue states, frankly, of enforcing these things and making sure that they are free and fair elections. We had 3 House Republican candidates who were ahead on election day in the last election cycle. And every time a new tranche of ballots came in, they just magically whittled away until their leads were lost. And no series of ballots that were counted after election day were our candidates ahead on any of those counts. It looks on its face to be fraudulent.
No, but when you count votes and we lose, it's fraudulent.
I think that there is a question, Abby. Lots of Americans have questions about the integrity of their elections. And I don't think that's an unfair point. I don't think it's an unfair point for the president or Congress to invest resources, as Batya mentioned, via the SAVE Act, to ensure that not only do we have qualified American citizens voting in our elections, but to invest those resources to ensure that we have safe and secure.
You gotta acknowledge, though, Tim, that when you have elected officials like Mike Johnson making things up and saying nonsense like that, yeah, there's no question that some Americans will hear that and think it's legitimate, even though he has no proof. even though there's nothing actually untoward about votes being counted and it not being in his preferred candidate.
One thing about Abby Phillips is that she cuts people off, and I know I just cut her off because I do want to skip to the part where, because I believe Batya and this lady, they start to kind of argue, and I kind of want to go there to this argument. But Abby she needs to calm down, because at the end of the day, all of that, what she's saying, he has no proof. He just says that. Okay, but that's how he felt. He said it, right? I don't have any proof of certain things. I have to wait till I do a research. You don't want to get me started on the great cough, COVID-19, please. Okay? So stop. I hate this thought. I do. And so there it is, right? It's like, I'm not with you telling Americans that they cannot ask questions. I do think that our elections are definitely, in certain places, corrupt things happen. Pennsylvania, sadly, is a very corrupt state. It's a corrupt state with an amazing constitution that we disrespect every chance we get. Okay, so there's that. However, I don't want it federalized either. I'm still an American who's saying, that doesn't mean I want it to go to more government. I'm sorry, I don't. That just makes it all the more easier to do whatever you want. Trump, for people who are, Trumpers and like, whatever he says go, he's not going to be president forever. Even I could go on for days about this. I really can.
Republicans, independents who've questioned elections for centuries. But the president of the United States, the person who holds the highest office, has always had that responsibility to keep the country together, to keep the country to have the faith in their electoral system. This guy doesn't care. He didn't even show up to the inauguration of his successor, and he's still challenging the results 6 years later. I tell you one thing about this, though, why Republicans should be trying to push him, and that's because it doesn't help Republicans in the 2026 midterms or the 2028 election, because the elections are about the future, not about the past. No.
Right. And this is exactly why I don't want that whole federalization thing, but it's exactly why people need to know that they can trust their elections. This is a very emotional conversation, a point that this guy thinks he's making. He still questions it. From 6 years later, he still questions it. He better. There was a moment where Trump said, I lost by a whisker, and I was ready to throw the computer, because I was like, no, the hell he did not. Excuse me? Like, he better never contest the fact, like, oh yeah, I you know what I mean? I actually did lose. Like, excuse me? I didn't need Trump to tell me that funny stuff happened, okay? Everybody knew that this thing was funny. Like, stop. Trying to make it, he just has to keep the country together. What, under a blanket of lies? We already do that anyway. My God. Like, it's like, just keep lying to the people so that everybody can get along. No, it doesn't work like that for me. It simply just doesn't. Let's see what Batya, because I think there was like a fight that happened. I'm just trying to get to the fight.
If he ever loses, it looks like he wins.
Well, first of all, if he won, which I believe he won, then
what is... You believe he won the 2020 election?
Sorry. No, I think he lost.
Okay.
If he lost the election, what is the problem with looking at the evidence? All the evidence will suggest that, right? All of the evidence will be there to back up that claim.
We've
already litigated
and
that.
And second of all, as Tim pointed out earlier, there are millions and millions of Americans who feel that our elections are not safe. Now, if I was in charge, this is not the way I would go about reassuring them that our elections are free and fair. I would focus on the SAVE Act. I would focus on citizenship. I would focus on photo ID, which is something that the vast majority of Americans...
Okay, so, I found a fight. By the way, that's why these people, they're not real. Like, Batya says, no, he lost. And Scott Jennings would have said the same thing too, by the way. Me, I'd have been on that panel. I'd have been like, he didn't lose. Oh, you're crazy. Please. Y'all did that to me for 4 years over this situation, over the great cough, and everything else. Sorry. I don't care what you call me. Oh, what kind of person are you to think that he didn't... I am an American. I'm one of those Americans who doesn't trust our election process. I'm sorry. I'm not sorry.
Illegitimate. We're litigating now something. Trump is looking to have people prosecuted for election fraud. So now they've got to start backward, go through the records and try to find somebody who committed an illegal act. This has been put before more than 60
someone to be prosecuted if they committed election fraud, right? You agree with that?
And you know what I would do?
Right?
If somebody was guilty of a crime, I would send even the Attorney General, Pam Bondi, who is mysteriously absent from this entire process. She's in charge of the DOJ, and she's in charge of the FBI. So why is Tulsi Gabbard in Georgia? She has nothing to do with this. She's not part of law enforcement. This is a show, and you have to recognize this is a bit of a political stunt to appease Donald Trump.
By that same
it's hard to look at it any other way.
I believe it.
Okay.
So here's the thing. I don't know. Tulsi Gabbard is... director of national intelligence security or something like that, right? So she could be down there, right? She could be down there. What's the problem? Why does this bother y'all so much? Like, what's going on? Why can't people find out if somebody committed a fraud? They should. I wish they would do this with like the files that drop. But why do people get so mad when you are researching what went wrong? Why are they still so mad about that? All right. So we can't know anything. Like it makes me so mad because it's so. If I was if I was on that panel, I would be. I've spoken a lot in this one. I usually don't do as much talking, but this is actually something that's near and dear to me. It is because it woke me up to the fact that things like this could happen. 2020 was a year for me that just woke me up to like the reality of our country and how quickly it could become unsovereign, if that's the word. You know what I mean? Occupied, which it actually is. So, I don't know why the American people can't be fully not satisfied, but have their questions answered about what happened in 2020. Some of us will never forget that, and I'm one of them. I'll see you guys at the next one. Bye.